The ornate clock on the mantelpiece chimed midnight, each resonant note a hammer blow against Anya Petrova's fragile hope. Outside, the city lights blurred into a watery smear against the rain-streaked window of the modest apartment. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken despair. Anya sat at the kitchen table, a flickering lamp illuminating the crumpled legal documents spread before her. They were the cold, hard proof of her family's ruin, a mountain of debt, a series of failed investments, and the final, crushing blow, the betrayal. Just 2 weeks ago, her life had been a meticulously planned tapestry of quiet ambition and burgeoning love. She'd been engaged to Andrei Volkov, a charming, ambitious man from a respectable, if not overly wealthy, family. Their wedding was set, her parents were relieved, and Anya herself, though pragmatic, had allowed herself to dream of a stable, comfortable future. Then, the tapestry unraveled. Andrei, it turned out, was not just ambitious. He was ruthless. He had used her family's connections, their dwindling assets, and her father's trusting nature to secure a massive, fraudulent loan, funneling the money into his own ventures before vanishing, leaving the Petrova family to drown in the financial wreckage. His words, delivered with such quiet sincerity, were a powerful affirmation. He had seen her pain, her sacrifice, and he had acted. The subtle acts of pampering, the unexpected kindnesses, they were not just tests or manipulations. They were expressions of care, of a growing affection from a man who chose to operate in the shadows, a hidden tycoon who was slowly, bewilderingly, beginning to pamper his unsuspecting wife and protect her with an iron fist disguised by a limp. The creditors were circling like vultures. Her father, a man whose spirit had been broken by the deception, lay ill in bed, his once vibrant eyes now shadowed with defeat. Her mother, usually a pillar of strength, moved through the apartment like a ghost, her hands constantly twisting. Anya, at 24, felt the crushing weight of their collective despair settle squarely on her shoulders. She was their last hope, their only viable asset. The stage was now set for a new threat to emerge, one that would force Anya to confront her past and Mikhail to fully reveal his protective instincts and hidden capabilities. The business empire's shadow, once a distant concept, was now a tangible, terrifying reality, and Anya was inextricably linked to its immense power, for better or for worse. And that asset, she now realized, was her. You've just witnessed the chilling revelation of Mikhail's hidden power, his silent retribution against Andrei, and the profound, if unsettling, understanding that he was not just pampering Anya, but fiercely protecting her. The business empire's shadow, once a distant concept, was now a tangible, terrifying reality, and Anya was inextricably linked to its immense power. But the past, like a persistent ghost, rarely stays buried. Now, a new threat emerges, one that forces Anya to confront her painful history and pushes Mikhail to fully reveal his protective instincts and hidden capabilities, all while maintaining his elaborate charade. You find yourself in a tense, watchful atmosphere. As the shadows of Anya's past creep into the present, the solution, presented by a distant, formidable aunt who seemed to materialize only in times of crisis, was as shocking as it was desperate and arranged marriage. Not just any marriage, but one into the notoriously reclusive and immensely powerful Volkov family. Not Andrei's branch, but the main, ancient lineage, a family whose wealth was whispered to be immeasurable, their influence stretching across industries, yet their public face remained shrouded in mystery. Life at the Volkov mansion had settled into a new, complex rhythm. Anya continued her role as the dutiful wife, but her interactions with Mikhail were now layered with unspoken understanding. She saw the hidden tycoon beneath the frail facade, and he, in turn, seemed to acknowledge her quiet strength and perceptiveness. The subtle acts of pampering continued, small comforts appearing as if by magic, a constant reminder of his care. Yet, the underlying tension of his deception and the vast, unseen power he wielded was a constant presence. The catch. Her intended husband, Mikhail Volkov, was rumored to be difficult, reclusive, yes, but also, so the whispers went, disabled. A recluse confined to his sprawling, ancient estate, rarely seen. His condition a subject of hushed speculation. Some said it was a childhood accident, others a mysterious illness. Whatever the cause, the image painted was of a man broken, perhaps even disfigured, certainly not a vibrant partner. One afternoon, Anya received a cryptic, unsigned letter. The paper was thick, expensive, and the handwriting elegant, yet it sent a shiver of dread down her spine. The message was brief. Some debts are never fully paid. The past has a way of catching up. Enjoy your gilded cage while it lasts. Mrs. Volkov. There was no explicit threat, but the implication was clear, chilling her to the bone. It was a direct reference to her family's ruin, a reminder of the betrayal that had forced her into this marriage. Anya stared at the contract, the elegant script blurring before her eyes. It was a bargain, stark and unforgiving. In exchange for her hand, the Volkov family would clear her family's debts, ensuring their survival. It was a lifeline, but one that demanded her entire future. Her dreams of love, of a simple, happy life, were to be sacrificed on the altar of duty. She was to marry a ghost, a shadow of a man, for the sake of her family. Anya's mind immediately went to Andrei. Could he be back? But Mikhail had said he had disappeared. His ventures liquidated. Was someone else involved? A former associate of Andrei's, perhaps? Or a new enemy of the Volkov family, using her past as leverage? The thought was terrifying. She had thought her family was safe, their debts cleared, their future secured. Now, a new shadow loomed. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had no time for weakness. Her family needed her. Her father's labored breathing from the next room was a constant reminder of the stakes. She was not marrying for love or even for companionship. She was marrying to save her family from utter destitution, to pull them back from the brink of ruin. She instinctively sought out Mikhail. She found him in his study, poring over ledgers, his cane leaning against his chair. She approached him cautiously, holding the letter. "Mikhail," she began, her voice tight. "I received this." The meeting with the Volkov family's representative, a stern, impeccably dressed lawyer named Mr. Petrov, had been brief and chillingly formal. He had spoken in clipped, precise tones, outlining the terms of the agreement as if discussing a business merger, not a human life. Mikhail Volkov himself had not been present, a further testament to his reclusive nature, or perhaps his condition. Anya had felt like a commodity, a pawn in a high-stakes game she barely understood. Mikhail looked up, his dark eyes instantly sharpening. He took the letter, his gaze sweeping over the elegant script. His face remained impassive, but Anya saw a flicker of something cold and dangerous in his eyes. The hidden Tycoon was instantly on alert. "He is a private man," Mr. Petrov had stated, his eyes unblinking. "And his health is delicate. Your role will be to provide companionship, to manage the household, and to represent the family when necessary. Discretion is paramount, loyalty, absolute." "Unsigned," he murmured, his voice low. "A common tactic of cowards." He looked at Anya, his gaze piercing. "Does this concern you?" Anya had nodded, her throat tight. Discretion, loyalty, these were easy enough to promise, but companionship for a man she had never met, a man rumored to be broken, that felt like a far more daunting task. She imagined a life of quiet solitude, tending to a frail husband in a vast, empty mansion, her own spirit slowly fading into the shadows. "It concerns my family's past," Anya admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "Andrei, the debts. It feels like a threat." The contract lay open, waiting for her signature. It felt heavy, imbued with the weight of her future. She traced the lines of the elegant script, her finger lingering on Mikhail Volkov's name, a man she knew nothing about, save for the whispers of his disability and his family's immense, shadowy power. This was her destiny now, a sacrifice made out of love for her family, a desperate bargain struck in the dead of night. Mikhail leaned back, his feigned limp subtly exaggerated as he shifted. "Indeed, a threat, and one that needs to be addressed." He paused, his eyes distant, as if already calculating. "Do you have any suspicions as to its origin?" She picked up the pen, her hand steady despite the tremor in her heart. This wasn't the life she had envisioned, not the future she had dreamed of, but it was a future, nonetheless. And for her family, she would walk into the unknown, into the arms of a stranger, a disabled man from a powerful, mysterious family, hoping against hope that she hadn't traded one form of ruin for another. The ink flowed, sealing her fate, binding her to a man she had never seen, to a life she could barely imagine. The clock chimed again, marking the end of one life and the terrifying, uncertain beginning of another. A common historical fact, often seen in the world of high finance and powerful families, is the existence of long-standing rivalries and vendettas. When one powerful entity rises or falls, there are always others who seek to capitalize on the shift, or to settle old scores. Anya's family's past, and her connection to the Volkovs, made her a potential target in a larger game she barely understood. It's like a medieval kingdom where the new queen is suddenly caught in a feud between two ancient noble houses. The journey to the Volkov estate was as shrouded in mystery as the family itself. Anya traveled alone, driven by a silent chauffeur in a sleek, black car that seemed to glide through the city streets and then out into the countryside, leaving civilization behind. The landscape gradually shifted from bustling urbanity to rolling hills, then to dense, ancient forests. The air grew cooler, the silence deeper, broken only by the hum of the engine and the rhythmic swish of the wipers against the light drizzle. Anya pressed her forehead against the cool glass, watching the world outside blur, feeling as though she was being transported not just to a new home, but to another era entirely. Anya recounted her suspicions about Andrei, and the possibility of his former associates. Mikhail listened intently, his expression unreadable, occasionally offering a sharp, insightful question. He didn't dismiss her fears, he absorbed them, his mind already working to unravel the new threat. After what felt like an eternity, the car turned off the main road onto a long, winding private drive, bordered by towering, ancient trees whose branches intertwined overhead, forming a dark, imposing canopy. The gates, when they finally appeared, were wrought iron, impossibly tall, adorned with an intricate, almost Gothic family crest. They swung open silently, as if by unseen hands, revealing a long gravel path that led to the estate. Over the next few days, the threats escalated. Anonymous calls came to the mansion, hanging up when answered. A dead bird was left on the doorstep, a chilling symbol. Anya felt a growing sense of dread. The past she thought she had escaped now actively pursuing her. She was a pawn in a game she didn't fully understand, and her safety, and perhaps her family's, was at stake. And then, she saw it. The Volkov mansion. It wasn't a modern architectural marvel, nor a brightly lit, ostentatious display of wealth. It was an edifice from another time, a sprawling, stone structure that seemed to rise directly from the earth, its gray walls softened by centuries of ivy. Turrets pierced the overcast sky, and countless windows, dark and unblinking, stared out like vacant eyes. It was grand, certainly, but also melancholic, imbued with a fading grandeur, as if holding its breath against the passage of time. The air around it felt heavy, silent, almost oppressive. Mikhail, still maintaining his disabled facade, subtly intervened. He gave quiet instructions to the butler, to the security staff, his voice low and precise. New security measures were put in place around the mansion, discreetly but effectively. Anya noticed the subtle increase in surveillance, the almost imperceptible tightening of the perimeter. He was protecting her, without fanfare, without revealing his true capabilities. It was like watching a master chess player make moves without ever touching the pieces himself. The car pulled up to the massive oak front doors, which were opened by a stern-faced butler even before the vehicle came to a complete stop. He was a tall, gaunt man with an air of perpetual disapproval, his uniform impeccably pressed. "Welcome, Madame Petrova," he intoned, his voice flat, devoid of warmth. "The family awaits." A lesser-known detail about highly organized, powerful entities is their reliance on extensive intelligence networks. Mikhail, as a hidden tycoon, would have access to vast amounts of information, allowing him to anticipate threats and respond discreetly. His seemingly effortless interventions were the result of a sophisticated system of intelligence gathering and rapid response, all operating beneath the surface of his feigned disability. Anya stepped out onto the gravel, the silence of the estate swallowing the soft crunch of her shoes. The air was cold, damp, carrying the scent of old stone and wet earth. She felt a shiver run down her spine, a premonition of the quiet, isolated life that awaited her. This wasn't a home, it was a fortress, a mausoleum of secrets. One evening, Anya was alone in the drawing room when a figure appeared at the French doors leading to the garden. It was a man, tall and shadowy, his face obscured by the darkness. He tried the door, finding it locked. He then produced a tool, clearly intending to force entry. Anya's heart leaped into her throat. She instinctively reached for her phone, but her hands were trembling. She was led through cavernous hallways, dimly lit by antique sconces, their light barely pushing back the encroaching shadows. Tapestries depicting ancient hunting scenes adorned the walls, their colors muted by age. The floorboards creaked softly underfoot, and the silence was so profound it felt as though the very walls were listening. There were no sounds of laughter, no distant voices, no hint of warmth or life. It was a house that seemed to have forgotten how to breathe. Suddenly, a voice, low and resonant, cut through the silence. "I wouldn't do that, my friend." Finally, she was ushered into a vast drawing room, its high ceilings lost in shadow, its furniture heavy and dark. A roaring fire in a massive stone fireplace was the only source of light and warmth, casting flickering shadows that danced across the room. And there, by the fire, sat her future husband. Anya spun around. Mikhail. He stood in the doorway of the drawing room, perfectly upright, without his cane. His posture was straight, his eyes cold and unblinking, fixed on the intruder. His presence radiated an undeniable power, a chilling authority that was far more terrifying than any physical threat. The feigned limp was gone, replaced by the formidable stance of a man in absolute control, Mikhail Volkov. The intruder froze, startled by the sudden appearance of a man who was supposed to be confined to a wheelchair. He stared at Mikhail, then at Anya, a flicker of confusion and fear in his eyes. He was seated in a high-backed, ornate armchair, his back partially to the door. As she entered, he slowly turned his head. He was younger than she had expected, perhaps in his early 30s. His face was finely sculpted, with sharp cheekbones and a strong jawline, but it was pale, almost translucent in the firelight. His eyes, dark and deep-set, held an unsettling stillness, observing her with an intensity that made her instinctively falter. He had a shock of dark, unruly hair that fell across his forehead. "You are trespassing," Mikhail continued, his voice calm, but with an iron edge. "And you are attempting to harm my wife. I advise you to reconsider your actions." What struck her immediately, however, was his posture. He sat with a subtle stiffness, and beside his chair, leaning against the armrest, was a polished wooden cane. He moved slowly, deliberately, as if each movement was a conscious effort. When he finally extended a hand towards her, it was with a slight tremor, and his grip, though firm, felt fragile. This was the disability. The frailty she had been warned about. It was more subtle than she had imagined, but undeniably present. The intruder, clearly a professional, assessed the situation. He saw the cold power in Mikhail's eyes, the unexpected strength in his posture. He saw the quiet, unwavering gaze of Anya. He realized he had walked into a trap, into a situation far more dangerous than he had anticipated. With a frustrated snarl, he turned and vanished into the stormy night. "Anya," he said, his voice a low rumble, surprisingly resonant despite his apparent weakness. "Welcome to my home, and soon, to your home." His voice held a peculiar inflection, almost a formality, as if he were reciting a line. Anya stared at Mikhail, her heart still pounding, but now with a different emotion, awe. He had dropped his facade completely, revealing his true strength, his true capabilities, to protect her. He had moved with a speed and power that utterly belied his supposed disability. He was not just subtly intervening, he was actively, powerfully, defending her. A common historical fact, often seen in aristocratic families, is the practice of arranged marriages to consolidate wealth, power, or lineage. While love matches became more prevalent over time, the strategic union remained a tool for families like the Volkovs to maintain their influence and protect their legacy. Anya's situation, though dramatic, was a modern echo of this ancient tradition. It's like a medieval chess game, but the pawns are people and the stakes are real lives. Historians still debate the ethical implications of powerful individuals maintaining elaborate deceptions, particularly when those deceptions are used to protect loved ones or maintain order. Mikhail's choice to drop his facade in a moment of crisis, revealing his true strength to Anya, marked a crucial turning point in their relationship, demonstrating his commitment to her safety above all else. This remains an open academic question. How do individuals reconcile profound deception with genuine affection and protection? Anya curtsied, her heart thumping against her ribs. Thank you, Mr. Volkov. It's a very grand house. Mikhail slowly, deliberately, reached for his cane, which he had left leaning against a nearby table. He picked it up and, with a subtle shift, resumed his feigned limp, his mask back in place. He turned to Anya, his expression once again distant, his eyes holding a familiar stillness. A faint, almost imperceptible, flicker of something crossed his eyes. Amusement, perhaps, or a hint of something darker. "It has seen better days," he replied, his gaze unwavering, much like its master. Perhaps. He offered a weak, self-deprecating smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Are you unharmed, Anya?" he asked, his voice returning to its usual low rumble. Two other figures emerged from the shadows of the room, an older woman, severe and unsmiling, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to pierce through Anya, and a younger man, handsome, but with a cold, almost predatory gaze. These were Mikhail's aunt, Elena Volkov, and his cousin, Sergei Volkov. They offered curt nods, their expressions conveying a clear message: Anya was an outsider, a necessary intrusion, but certainly not welcome. Anya nodded, still breathless. "Yeah, thank you, Mikhail." "Anya, this is my Aunt Elena," Mikhail introduced, his voice flat. "And my cousin, Sergei." He gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. "Good. The matter is being handled." He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. Anya knew. She had seen the true Mikhail, the hidden Tycoon, the powerful protector, in action. Elena's voice was clipped. "We trust you understand the gravity of your position, Miss Petrova, and the importance of discretion." Her gaze was unwavering, a silent warning. The incident was a turning point. Anya now understood the full extent of Mikhail's commitment to her safety and the terrifying power he wielded. He was not just her husband, he was her shield, her guardian, operating in the shadows, ready to unleash his true strength when she was threatened. The fear she had felt earlier was now replaced by a profound sense of security, mingled with a deeper, more complex understanding of the man she had married. Sergei merely offered a tight, humorless smile. "Welcome to the family, Anya. I hope you find our unique arrangements to your liking." There was an underlying sneer in his tone, a hint of mockery that made Anya's skin prickle. The stage was now set for the full unmasking, a confrontation where Anya, now fully aware of Mikhail's deception and driven by the escalating threats, would directly confront him about his fake limp and his true identity. The fragile trust between them, born of necessity and tested by danger, was about to be pushed to its ultimate limit, revealing the complex reasons behind his charade and the true depth of his feelings for her. A lesser-known detail about reclusive, wealthy families is that their internal dynamics can be incredibly complex, often riddled with power struggles, resentments, and hidden agendas. The Volkov family, with its immense wealth and mysterious nature, likely harbored its own intricate web of alliances and rivalries, with Mikhail, the seemingly frail heir, at its center. Anya was stepping into a viper's nest, completely unaware of the true power plays at work. You've just witnessed Mikhail drop his facade, revealing his true, formidable strength to protect Anya from an intruder. The incident solidified Anya's understanding of his hidden power and his unwavering commitment to her safety. The subtle acts of pampering, the quiet care, it all made terrifying sense now. But the deception, the fake limp, the carefully constructed image of frailty, it still stood between them, a silent barrier. Now, driven by the escalating threats and a desperate need for honesty, Anya is about to directly confront Mikhail, demanding the truth about his charade and his true identity. You find yourself in the tense, charged atmosphere of the Volkov mansion as the ultimate unveiling is about to occur. The conversation that followed was strained, formal, and utterly devoid of warmth. Mikhail spoke little, answering questions in monosyllables, his gaze often drifting to the flickering fire. He seemed distant, withdrawn, exactly as the rumors had described. His frailty, his quietness, his reclusive nature, it all reinforced the public image of a man broken by his condition, a powerful family's last, fragile hope. The days following the intruder incident were fraught with a new kind of tension. Mikhail continued his routine, his cane ever present, his limp subtly exaggerated, his eyes distant. But Anya saw him differently now. She saw the powerful man beneath the performance, the man who had moved with such speed and authority to protect her. The pretense felt heavier, almost suffocating, in the face of the truth she now held. She felt a growing impatience, a desperate need for him to drop the act, to be truly seen by him, just as she had truly seen him. Anya tried to engage him, to find common ground, but his responses were minimal. He seemed to shrink into his armchair, his hand resting lightly on his cane, a constant reminder of his perceived weakness. She felt a profound sense of loneliness settle over her, a chilling realization that her life would indeed be one of quiet solitude, a gilded cage within this fading mansion. The threats, though less direct after the intruder's disappearance, still lingered. Anonymous emails, cryptic messages left with the staff, they were subtle reminders that the danger hadn't entirely vanished, that someone was still watching, still trying to get to her. This persistent threat, coupled with the emotional toll of living with such a profound deception, pushed Anya to her breaking point. She couldn't continue to pretend. She needed answers, and she needed them from him. As the evening wore on, Anya was led to her chambers, a vast, opulent room that felt cold and empty despite its luxurious furnishings. She stood by the window, looking out at the sprawling, silent estate, shrouded in mist and darkness. The mansion seemed to breathe around her, a living entity holding countless secrets. And at its heart was Mikhail Volkov, her husband, a man who presented himself as frail and withdrawn, yet whose dark eyes held an unsettling stillness, a depth that hinted at something far more complex than mere disability. She chose her moment carefully. It was late evening. Mikhail was in his study, the room where she had first glimpsed his true, unhindered self. The mansion was quiet, the staff retired for the night. She walked to his study door, her heart pounding, but her resolve firm. She pushed the door open, not cautiously this time, but with a quiet determination. She thought of her family, of the debt cleared, of the lifeline she had secured. The sacrifice was made, but as she lay in the vast, cold bed, listening to the creaking of the old house, Anya couldn't shake the feeling that she had just stepped into a mystery far grander and far more dangerous than she could ever have imagined. The fading mansion held its secrets close, and its seemingly frail master was the most enigmatic of them all. Mikhail looked up from his desk, his eyes, as always, sharp and intelligent. He saw the look in Anya's eyes, the quiet storm brewing beneath her composure. He knew. The moment of reckoning had arrived. He slowly, deliberately, placed his pen down on the ledger he was examining. Life within the Volkov mansion settled into a strange, silent rhythm for Anya. The days were long, punctuated by the hushed movements of the few household staff and the oppressive quiet that seemed to cling to every ancient stone. Anya, now officially Mrs. Volkov, found herself navigating a world of immense wealth devoid of warmth, a gilded cage where her every move was observed. Yet she felt utterly alone. Her initial sense of sacrifice for her family slowly morphed into a quiet determination to understand the labyrinthine dynamics of her new home and, more importantly, her enigmatic husband, Mikhail. "Anya," he said, his voice low, but without its usual distant quality. "Is something amiss?" He made no move to reach for his cane. Mikhail was a creature of habit, and his habits reinforced the image of his frailty. He rarely left the ground floor, preferring the drawing room or a secluded study. His meals were often taken alone, or with Anya in a formal, silent dining room. He moved slowly, deliberately, always with the polished wooden cane by his side, leaning on it with a subtle, yet consistent, weight. His voice remained a low rumble, his gaze distant, as if his thoughts were perpetually elsewhere. He was the picture of a reclusive, disabled man. Exactly as the rumors had described, Anya walked further into the room, stopping directly in front of his desk. She looked at him, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, Mikhail," she said, her voice clear, though it trembled faintly with suppressed emotion. "Something is very amiss. You're limp." But Anya was, by nature, an observer. Her quiet demeanor masked a sharp mind and an almost uncanny ability to notice details others missed. She had learned this skill out of necessity. growing up in a family where unspoken tensions and subtle shifts in fortune dictated daily life. And as she watched Mikhail, day after day, she began to notice inconsistencies, tiny cracks in the facade of his disability. Mikhail's face remained impassive, but Anya saw a flicker in his dark eyes, a subtle tension around his jaw. He didn't deny it, he simply waited, his stillness unnerving. For instance, his grip on the cane, while he leaned on it, his hand often seemed to hold it with a surprising firmness, almost a casual strength, rather than the desperate reliance of someone truly dependent on it. Sometimes, when he thought no one was looking, his movements would be a fraction quicker, a fraction smoother than they should have been. She saw him once, reaching for a book on a high shelf, his arm extending with a fluid grace that seemed at odds with his overall stiffness. He caught himself immediately, a subtle wince crossing his face, and returned to his slow, deliberate movements. But Anya had seen it. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance. But one of the dancers missed a tiny beat. "I saw you! Mikhail!" Anya continued, her voice gaining strength. "During the storm, when the lights went out, you were standing at the bottom of the stairs, perfectly upright. You moved without your cane. You moved with speed. You are not disabled. Are you?" His eyes, too, were a source of fascination. While often distant, there were moments when they would sharpen, becoming intensely focused, almost predatory. She saw it when he was reading complex financial reports, his brow furrowed in concentration, his gaze darting across the figures with an almost frightening speed, or when he was listening to his aunt, Elena, speak in her clipped, authoritative tones. His eyes would narrow, a flicker of something akin to cold amusement or shrewd calculation in their depths. These were not the eyes of a frail, withdrawn man. They were the eyes of someone intensely intelligent, acutely aware, and perhaps deeply dangerous. The question hung in the air, stark and undeniable. Mikhail met her gaze, his eyes holding a complex mix of acknowledgement, resignation, and perhaps a hint of something else she couldn't quite decipher. He leaned back in his chair, a slow, deliberate movement that was utterly devoid of any feigned weakness. Mikhail leaned forward, his eyes softening almost imperceptibly. "Your family's stability was part of the agreement, Anya," he said, "and Andrei's actions were a threat to the family's reputation. It was a matter of internal discipline." He paused, then added, his voice even softer. "But yes, I ensured their security. And yours." "No, Anya," he finally said, his voice a low, resonant rumble, no longer constrained by the pretense of frailty. "I am not disabled. My leg is perfectly sound." A common historical fact, often seen in narratives of deception, is that maintaining a consistent facade requires immense discipline, and even the most skilled actors can have their masks slip in moments of unguardedness or intense focus. Anya's quiet observation allowed her to catch these fleeting moments, piecing together a different truth about Mikhail than the one presented to the world. It's like watching a magic trick over and over, and slowly starting to see the hidden strings. The confession, though expected, still hit Anya with a powerful force. The truth, spoken aloud, was liberating and infuriating all at once. "Why, Mikhail?" she demanded, her voice rising slightly. The years of quiet observation, the confusion, the anger at the deception, finally bubbling to the surface. "Why the charade? Why the lie? Why did you marry me under false pretenses?" The household staff, though few, were equally enigmatic. They moved with a silent efficiency, their faces impassive. They seemed to anticipate Mikhail's every need, often before he even expressed it. Yet, Anya noticed a subtle deference, almost a fear, in their eyes when they interacted with him, a level of respect that seemed to go beyond mere employer-employee relations. It was the kind of respect one gives to someone of immense, quiet power, not just a disabled heir. Mikhail looked at her, his gaze intense. "It was not a lie, Anya," he replied, his voice calm, but with an underlying current of something profound. "It was a necessity, a strategy, and a test." One evening, Anya was walking through the mansion's vast, dimly lit corridors, unable to sleep. She heard a faint sound from Mikhail's study, a series of rapid clicks, almost like a keyboard. She paused, curious. Mikhail was supposed to be in bed, his delicate health requiring early rest. She cautiously approached the study door, which was slightly ajar. Through the crack, she saw him. A common historical fact, often seen in narratives of powerful figures, is the use of elaborate disguises or feigned weaknesses to gather intelligence, avoid enemies, or test the loyalty of those around them. Mikhail's charade, while deeply personal, was a sophisticated application of such a strategy, designed to protect himself and his empire from unseen threats and to discern the true character of those he brought into his inner circle. It's like a medieval king pretending to be a peasant to learn the truth about his kingdom. He was seated at a large, antique desk, but instead of his usual slow, deliberate movements, his fingers were flying across a modern, high-tech keyboard, the screen of a large monitor glowing with complex data and charts. His posture was alert, his back straight, his eyes sharp and intensely focused. He wasn't limping, not even subtly. He was completely engrossed, his mind clearly working at a furious pace. He looked like a CEO in the middle of a high-stakes negotiation, not a frail invalid. Before he could look up, Anya quietly retreated, her heart pounding. He rose from his chair, slowly, deliberately. He didn't limp. He walked around the desk, his movements fluid, powerful, utterly confident. He was taller than she had realized, his presence commanding, radiating an aura of immense, unbridled power. He was indeed a hidden tycoon, a man who had chosen to operate in the shadows, his true strength concealed by a carefully constructed illusion. A lesser-known detail about individuals who feign disabilities is the immense mental and physical effort required to maintain the deception consistently. Every movement, every gesture, every expression must be carefully controlled. Mikhail's moments of unguardedness, when he allowed himself to move freely or engage his intellect fully, were likely moments of intense concentration where the facade simply slipped, revealing the true man beneath. "The Volkov family," Mikhail began, his voice now rich with authority, "has many enemies, rivals who would exploit any perceived weakness. My father, the patriarch, was growing old, and his health was failing. There was a power struggle within the family, led by Elena and Sergei, who sought to undermine my position as heir. My feigned disability was a shield. It kept me out of the public eye, away from direct threats. It allowed me to observe, to plan, to consolidate my power without alerting my rivals to the true extent of my capabilities." The next morning, Mikhail was back to his usual slow gait, his cane by his side, his eyes distant. Anya watched him, a profound sense of bewilderment settling over her. He was playing a role, a masterful deception. But why? What was he hiding? And how deeply did this charade run? The man she had married was not the man he appeared to be. He paused, his eyes holding hers. "And it allowed me to test them, to see who would be loyal and who would seek to exploit my weakness." She also noticed the way his family treated him. Aunt Elena and cousin Sergei, while outwardly respectful, often spoke to him with a subtle condescension, as if addressing a child or someone incapable. Yet, Anya saw the flicker of something in Mikhail's eyes, a flash of cold amusement, a hint of disdain. That suggested he was fully aware of their true opinions, and perhaps even playing along with them. It was like watching a lion pretending to be a kitten, while its handlers unknowingly stroked its powerful paws. Anya listened, her anger warring with a grudging understanding. His explanation was cold, logical, utterly ruthless. It painted a picture of a man who lived in a world of constant threats, where deception was a tool for survival. The more she observed, the more the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. His reclusive nature wasn't just about his disability. It was about maintaining control, about keeping the world at arm's length, perhaps even about protecting a deeper secret. His quietness wasn't just frailty, it was a profound stillness that allowed him to observe, to analyze, to plan. He was a master of deception, a man who projected weakness to mask immense strength. "And me?" Anya asked, her voice quiet. "Was I part of your test? Did you marry me just to see how I would react to a disabled husband?" Anya also noticed that despite his supposed frailty, the household ran with incredible efficiency. Deliveries arrived precisely on time, complex legal documents were handled flawlessly, and the vast Volkov empire, though unseen, seemed to operate with a silent, iron-fisted control. This level of organization couldn't be maintained by a frail, withdrawn man. It required a sharp, active mind, a powerful hand at the helm. Mikhail took a step closer, his gaze softening, a warmth entering his dark eyes that Anya had rarely seen. "You were part of the test." "Yes," he admitted, his voice low. "I needed a wife who was not driven by greed or ambition, someone who would not be repulsed by my perceived condition, someone with integrity, with quiet strength, someone who would not betray me, even when faced with adversity." Historians still debate the various reasons why powerful individuals throughout history might have chosen to feign weakness or disability, from avoiding political enemies to testing the loyalty of their inner circle, or even simply to cultivate a specific public image. The motivations can be complex and deeply personal. Mikhail's charade, in this context, raises the academic question: what grander purpose could such a powerful man have for maintaining such a profound deception? He reached out, his hand gently cupping her cheek. His touch was warm, firm, utterly unlike the fragile tremor she had once felt. "You passed, Anya, with flying colors. You showed me kindness, dignity, and a perceptiveness that saw beyond the facade. You did not abandon me. You did not complain. You simply were, and then you defended me, even when you thought I was weak." The realization was both unsettling and exhilarating. The man she had married, the disabled recluse, was a phantom. He was a hidden force, a powerful intellect disguised by a carefully constructed facade of weakness. The weight of this knowledge settled heavily on Anya. She was married to a lie, a living enigma. A lesser-known detail about the psychology of powerful individuals who operate in highly competitive or dangerous environments is their profound need for genuine loyalty and trust. Having been surrounded by ambition and potential betrayal, Mikhail's elaborate test was not just about protecting his empire, but about finding someone he could truly rely on, someone whose character was unimpeachable. Anya's quiet resilience and genuine kindness were qualities he desperately sought and ultimately found. She began to wonder about the true nature of the Volkov family. If Mikhail was capable of such a profound deception, what other secrets did this fading mansion hold? What other truths were hidden beneath the polished surfaces and hushed whispers? Her quiet observation had unveiled a terrifying reality. Her husband was not what he seemed, and her life, far from being a quiet sacrifice, had just become infinitely more complicated and far more dangerous. The stage was set for the unveiling of a hidden tycoon, a man who had chosen to limp through life while secretly pulling the strings of a vast empire. Anya felt a surge of complex emotions. The anger was still there, a dull ache, but it was now overshadowed by the weight of his explanation, the depth of his vulnerability, and the unexpected warmth of his touch. He had lied, yes, but he had also, unknowingly, chosen her for qualities she truly possessed. Anya's quiet observations had cracked the surface of Mikhail Volkov's facade, revealing glimpses of a sharp intellect and a hidden strength that utterly contradicted his feigned disability. She now knew, with chilling certainty, that her husband was a master of deception. But the mystery deepened as she began to navigate the cold, dismissive world of the Volkov family, encountering their disdain and overhearing hushed conversations that hinted at a much larger, darker secret. You find yourself in the oppressive atmosphere of the Volkov mansion, where every whisper seems to carry a hidden meaning, and every shadow conceals a truth. "The pampering," Anya whispered, remembering the roses, the books, the subtle comforts. Was that part of the test too? Mikhail's family, particularly his Aunt Elena and cousin Sergei, treated Anya with a thinly veiled contempt. To them, she was merely a necessary evil, a transaction. Her purpose was to provide a suitable wife for the reclusive heir, to fulfill a duty, but certainly not to be embraced as a family member. Elena's eyes, sharp and judgmental, followed Anya's every move, as if expecting her to make a mistake. Sergei, with his cold, predatory smile, often made subtly disparaging remarks about her background, her simple clothes, or her lack of social graces. Anya felt their disdain like a physical weight, a constant reminder of her outsider status. Mikhail's lips curved into a faint, genuine smile, one that reached his eyes, utterly devoid of pretense. "No, Anya," he said, his voice soft, almost tender. "That was not part of the test. That was me. That was my way of showing you that I saw you, that I appreciated you. That I cared. She's adequate, I suppose, Anya overheard Elena say to Sergei one morning, their voices low, but carrying through the thin walls of the drawing room. For what she is. But hardly a match for a Volkov, even a compromised one. The word compromised hung in the air, clearly referring to Mikhail's supposed disability, laced with a bitter undertone. His confession, simple and profound, sent a jolt through Anya. It was an admission of affection, a vulnerability he had never shown before. He, the hidden tycoon, the master of deception, was capable of genuine care, of immense pampering, of a deep, unspoken affection. Sergei chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Indeed. And one wonders what father was thinking, marrying him off to a pauper, and a naive one at that? Though, perhaps, that was the point, easier to control. Historians still debate the complexities of love and duty in arranged marriages, particularly when one partner holds immense power or maintains a profound secret. Mikhail's revelation of his true feelings, after the charade was exposed, raises the academic question: can a relationship built on initial deception truly evolve into one of genuine love and trust? And what are the psychological processes involved in such a transformation? Anya's heart tightened. Easier to control. The words echoed in her mind, linking to her own growing suspicion about Mikhail's true nature. Was his feigned disability part of a larger scheme within the family? Was he being controlled? Or was he the one doing the controlling, manipulating their perceptions? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. And the threats? Anya asked, her voice still quiet. Andrei, the intruder. She also noticed the strange dynamics between Elena, Sergei, and Mikhail. While Elena and Sergei outwardly treated Mikhail with a mix of pity and condescension, Anya sometimes caught a flicker of something else in their eyes. A subtle resentment, almost a fear. And Mikhail, despite his withdrawn demeanor, seemed to hold a quiet, almost imperceptible power over them. He would offer a single, cryptic remark or a piercing glance, and they would immediately fall silent, their expressions turning wary. It was like watching a complex, silent play, where the true roles were constantly shifting. Mikhail's expression hardened, his eyes turning cold once more. Andrei was a fool, a minor nuisance. He was dealt with. The recent threats, however, are from a more formidable enemy, a rival faction within the family, led by Sergei, who believes my disability makes me unfit to inherit the full scope of the Volkov Empire. They are testing my father's resolve, and my own. They are the true danger, a common historical fact, often seen in powerful, old money families, is the intense internal competition and power struggles that can exist, particularly around inheritance and control of the family fortune. The Volkov family, with its immense shadowy empire, would undoubtedly be a hotbed of such rivalries, with Mikhail, as the heir, at the center of a complex web of ambition and resentment. Anya was slowly beginning to glimpse the true nature of the viper's nest she had married into. Anya stared at him, the full scope of the situation finally dawning on her. She wasn't just married to a hidden tycoon. She was married to a man at the center of a dangerous, high-stakes power struggle. A man who had chosen to feign weakness to protect himself and his empire. And now, she was inextricably linked to that fight. One evening, Anya was walking past Mikhail's study, the door slightly ajar. She heard voices, hushed and urgent. It was Elena and Sergei, their tones agitated. So, what now? Anya asked, her voice steady, her gaze meeting his. The charade is over. To me, at least. What do we do? The deal is almost finalized, Sergei whispered, his voice tight with frustration. But he's insisting on these ridiculous clauses. It's like he knows our every move. Mikhail's eyes held hers, a flicker of something akin to hope in their depths. Now, Anya, he said, his voice firm, we face them. Together. The charade is over. It is time for the true Mikhail Volkov to emerge. And with you by my side, I believe we can transform this legacy and build something stronger, something real. He always does, Elena replied, her voice sharp. He's playing a long game, Sergei. He always has. But we have to move quickly, before father changes his mind, before Mikhail consolidates too much power. The stage was now set for a united front, a powerful alliance between Anya's integrity and Mikhail's unveiled power. The deception was over. replaced by a fragile, nascent trust. The pampering, once bewildering, was now understood as a testament to his growing affection. Their love story, born of a desperate bargain and forged in the crucible of deception, was about to begin its true, open chapter. As they prepared to confront the betrayers and transform the Volkov legacy, Anya froze. Consolidate too much power. The words resonated with her observations of Mikhail's hidden intellect and his fleeting moments of strength. Was his feigned disability a way to lull his family into a false sense of security, allowing him to operate unseen, to outmaneuver them? The idea was chilling, painting Mikhail not as a victim, but as a cunning strategist. You've witnessed the raw, exhilarating moment of Mikhail's unmasking. His true strength and the depth of his deception laid bare before Anya. The charade was over, replaced by a profound, if unsettling, honesty. Now, you are about to delve deeper as Mikhail reveals the complex, often brutal truths of his past, the intricate reasons behind his feigned disability, and the full, terrifying extent of his power. More importantly, he will confess the true nature of his feelings for Anya, explaining the bewildering acts of pampering that had so confused her. You find yourself in the intimate, charged space of his study, where the shadows of the past are finally brought into the light. She heard Sergei sigh. But the old man, he's weakening. And Mikhail is, well, he's the only one father truly trusts now. Even with his condition, Anya stood before Mikhail, absorbing the weight of his confession. The anger at his deception, though still a dull ache, was now overshadowed by a desperate need for understanding. He had admitted his lie, revealed his true self. Now, she needed to know why. Why such an elaborate, long-term charade? Why the pretense of frailty when he possessed such immense power? His condition is a blessing in disguise, Elena hissed, her voice low and venomous. It keeps him confined, keeps him out of the public eye. But it doesn't diminish his mind. Never forget that, Sergei. He's sharper than both of us combined, and more ruthless. Mikhail, sensing her unspoken questions, gestured to a pair of armchairs by the flickering fireplace. He didn't limp as he walked, his movements fluid and powerful, a constant visual reminder of the truth. He sat down, his gaze unwavering as Anya took the opposite seat. Anya quickly, silently, retreated, her heart pounding in her chest. The conversation had confirmed her deepest suspicions. Mikhail's disability was a facade, a strategic tool, and his family knew it, or at least suspected it, and feared him. The whispers and shadows of the mansion were not just about a reclusive heir, they were about a hidden war for control of the Volkov Empire. And Anya had just stumbled into the middle of it. You deserve to know everything. Anya, Mikhail began, his voice low, a deep rumble that resonated with authority and a newfound vulnerability. My life, particularly within the Volkov family, has been a constant battle. A war fought not with swords, but with secrets, influence, and betrayal. A lesser-known detail about family dynamics in powerful, secretive organizations is the concept of information asymmetry. Those who control key information or possess hidden knowledge can wield immense power, even if they appear outwardly weak or marginalized. Mikhail, by feigning disability, had created a profound information asymmetry, allowing him to observe and manipulate his family without their full awareness of his true capabilities. He spoke of his childhood, not with self-pity, but with a stark, brutal honesty. His father, the current patriarch, had always been a formidable, distant figure, obsessed with maintaining the family's power and legacy. From a young age, Mikhail was groomed to inherit the empire, subjected to rigorous training in finance, strategy, and the ruthless art of survival in the cutthroat world of global business. He was taught to trust no one, to see every interaction as a potential threat or opportunity. The revelation was unsettling. She had married into a family of schemers, and her husband was the most cunning of them all. His silence, his distant gaze, his apparent frailty, it was all a meticulously crafted performance. She felt a surge of anger at the deception, but also a strange, grudging admiration for his masterful charade. He was playing a game far more complex than she could have imagined, and she, unknowingly, was a pawn in it. A common historical fact, often seen in powerful dynasties, is the intense pressure placed on heirs, who are often trained from birth to navigate complex political and economic landscapes, where trust is a luxury and betrayal a constant threat. Mikhail's upbringing, while privileged, was clearly devoid of genuine warmth, fostering a sense of isolation and a need for self-preservation through cunning. It's like being born into a medieval royal family, but your nursery rhymes are about hostile takeovers and your lullabies are the whispers of espionage. She began to reevaluate every interaction she had with Mikhail, his subtle smiles, his peculiar inflections, the way his eyes would sometimes glint with hidden amusement. They now took on a new, sinister meaning. Was he laughing at her naivete? Was she just another piece on his chessboard? The thought stung. My disability, Mikhail explained, his eyes darkening slightly, began after a serious accident when I was a teenager, a car crash, seemingly random, but I soon realized it was orchestrated by a rival faction within the family, led by my uncle, Elena's brother, who sought to remove me from the line of succession. I survived, but the message was clear. My life was constantly in danger. She also noticed that despite Elena and Sergei's disdain for her, they never openly defied Mikhail's wishes regarding her. If Mikhail expressed a subtle preference for Anya to attend a certain event, or to have a particular item, Elena and Sergei would comply, albeit with ill grace. This further solidified Anya's understanding of Mikhail's true hidden authority within the family. He might appear frail, but he was undeniably in charge. He paused, his gaze distant, lost in the memories. It was then that I realized weakness could be a weapon. If they believed me to be truly compromised, physically frail, then they would underestimate me. They would drop their guard. They would focus on fighting each other for scraps, while I, from the shadows, could observe, learn, and consolidate my true power. Historians still debate the various motivations behind elaborate deceptions within powerful families or political structures, from protecting assets during times of instability to testing loyalty or gaining strategic advantage. The reasons can be multifaceted. Mikhail's feigned disability, in this context, raises the academic question: what specific overarching goal was he trying to achieve by maintaining such a profound and dangerous charade within his own family? Anya listened, a chill running down her spine. The depth of his strategic thinking, the sheer patience required to maintain such a charade for years, was breathtaking. He had turned his vulnerability into his greatest strength, a silent, invisible cloak that allowed him to operate unseen. Anya felt a growing sense of unease. She was married to a man who was not what he seemed, living in a house filled with secrets and resentments. Her desperate bargain had led her into a labyrinth of deception, and she was utterly unprepared for the true nature of her husband or his family. The whispers and shadows of the mansion were no longer just background noise. They were the ominous soundtrack to a hidden war, and Anya was now inextricably caught in its crossfire. My father, Mikhail continued, was initially devastated by my condition, but he also saw the strategic advantage. He supported the charade, allowing me to recede from public view, to become the reclusive, disabled heir. This kept me safe from overt attacks and allowed him to continue his work without constant threats to his successor. It was a shared deception, a necessary evil to protect the family's future. She knew she had to be careful. Her own position was precarious. If she revealed her knowledge of Mikhail's deception, she could expose herself to the wrath of both Mikhail and his scheming relatives. She was walking on eggshells, trying to understand the rules of a game she hadn't known she was playing. A lesser-known detail about the psychology of long-term deception is the profound sense of isolation it can create. Living a lie, even for strategic reasons, means constantly suppressing one's true self, preventing genuine connection. Mikhail's feigned disability, while protecting him, also condemned him to a life of emotional solitude, unable to truly reveal himself to anyone. This makes his later confession of care for Anya all the more significant. The next time she saw Mikhail, his usual slow, deliberate movements seemed almost comical to her now. A deliberate charade. She met his distant gaze, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of something akin to defiance. She knew his secret, and soon, she would use that knowledge, not to expose him, but to understand the true depth of his deception, and perhaps, to find her own place within this terrifying, hidden empire. The stage was set for the moment she would accidentally witness the full extent of his deception, confirming her suspicions and irrevocably changing her perception of her husband. The power struggle you witnessed between Elena and Sergei and myself, Mikhail explained, was very real. They believed my father was weakening, and that my disability made me unfit to truly lead. They saw me as a figurehead, easily manipulated. They were trying to make moves, to secure their own positions, unaware that I was watching their every step, anticipating their every move. You've navigated the treacherous currents of the Volkov family's internal power struggles, sensing the cold disdain of Elena and Sergei, and the chilling truth that Mikhail's disability was a strategic facade. Anya now carries the heavy burden of this knowledge. Her perception of her husband irrevocably altered. But suspicion is one thing, irrefutable proof is another. You are about to witness the moment Anya accidentally stumbles upon the full, shocking extent of Mikhail's deception, confirming her deepest fears and irrevocably changing her understanding of the man she married. You find yourself holding your breath in the silent, watchful mansion, as a carefully constructed illusion is about to shatter. He then looked at Anya, his gaze softening, a warmth entering his eyes that melted the coldness of his narrative. And then, there was you, Anya, my father. In his wisdom, insisted on an arranged marriage. He wanted a wife for me, someone who would provide stability, who would not be a threat. He chose you because of your family's reputation for integrity. Despite their financial difficulties, he believed you would be compliant, unassuming. The conversation Anya overheard between Elena and Sergei had been a thunderclap, confirming her nascent suspicions about Mikhail. He's sharper than both of us combined, and more ruthless. The words echoed in her mind, painting a picture of a man far more dangerous and cunning than the frail invalid he presented to the world. She observed him now with a new, heightened awareness. Every slow movement, every deliberate lean on his cane, seeming like a calculated performance, the anger at his deception simmered beneath her calm exterior. Mixed with a strange, grudging admiration for his masterful charade, Mikhail reached out, taking Anya's hand, his touch warm and firm. But I needed to be sure. I needed to know if you were truly as you appeared, if you were driven by greed, or if you possessed the quiet strength and genuine kindness that I desperately needed in my life. My feigned disability was the ultimate test. It would repel those who sought power or wealth for selfish reasons. It would reveal those who were repulsed by perceived weakness. And it would show me if you could see beyond the surface, beyond the facade. One evening, a fierce thunderstorm erupted over the Volkov estate. The ancient mansion groaned and creaked under the assault of wind and rain, and the electricity flickered, then died, plunging the vast house into sudden, absolute darkness. Anya, startled, fumbled for a candle, her heart pounding in the unexpected silence. The staff, accustomed to such occurrences, were already moving with practiced efficiency. Lighting emergency lamps, Anya felt a surge of complex emotions. The anger at the deception was still there, but it was now overshadowed by the profound weight of his words, the vulnerability in his confession. He had chosen her, not for her family's connections, but for her character, her resilience, her quiet strength. Anya made her way towards the main staircase, intending to check on the elderly housekeeper, Mrs. Petrova, who was prone to fright during storms. As she reached the landing, a sudden blinding flash of lightning illuminated the grand hall below, cutting through the darkness with a stark, momentary brilliance. And in that fleeting, electrifying instant, she saw him. "You passed, Anya," Mikhail continued, his thumb gently stroking her hand. "You not only accepted my perceived condition, you showed me kindness. You defended me at the gala. You were perceptive enough to see the inconsistencies, yet discreet enough not to expose me. You saw the man beneath the facade, and you did not judge him." "Mikhail." He then looked at her, his eyes holding a depth of emotion that took her breath away. "The pampering, Anya," he confessed, his voice dropping to a tender whisper. "The roses, the books, the subtle comforts. That was not part of the test. That was me. That was my way of showing you that I saw you, that I saw your quiet strength, your grace, your intelligence, that I appreciated your sacrifice for your family, that I wanted to make your life here as comfortable as possible, that I cared for you." He was standing at the foot of the main staircase, perfectly upright, without his cane. His posture was straight, his shoulders broad, his body utterly devoid of the usual stiffness or limp. He was moving with a fluid, almost predatory grace, his hand reaching instinctively for a wall sconce, clearly intending to light it. His movements were swift, powerful, utterly unhindered. He was not limping. He was not disabled. He was perfectly, terrifyingly, whole. The lightning flash vanished as quickly as it appeared, plunging the hall back into darkness. But the image was seared into Anya's mind, stark and undeniable. Her breath hitched. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the sudden silence. The man she had married, the man who had presented himself as frail and compromised, was a complete fraud. His disability was a meticulously crafted lie, a performance of breathtaking scale and precision. A common historical fact, often seen in narratives of deception, is that moments of crisis or unexpected events can cause even the most disciplined individuals to drop their guard, revealing their true nature. The sudden blackout, coupled with Mikhail's instinctive reaction to light the sconce, created a fleeting window where his carefully maintained facade simply slipped, allowing Anya to witness the undeniable truth. It's like a medieval spy, perfectly disguised, suddenly losing their wig in a gust of wind. Historians still debate the complexities of love and duty in arranged marriages, particularly when one partner holds immense power or maintains a profound secret. Mikhail's revelation of his true feelings, after the charade was exposed, raises the academic question: can a relationship built on initial deception truly evolve into one of genuine love and trust? And what are the psychological processes involved in such a transformation? Anya pressed herself against the wall, hidden in the shadows of the landing, her mind reeling. She watched as Mikhail, now aware of the darkness, slowly, deliberately, reached for his cane, which must have been leaning against a nearby table. He picked it up, and then, as the faint glow of a lantern approached from down the hall, carried by the butler, he resumed his slow, deliberate limp, leaning heavily on the cane once more. The transformation was instantaneous, seamless, a chilling testament to his mastery of deception. Andrei was dealt with, Mikhail stated, his voice hardening slightly, returning to the cold, factual tone of the Tycoon. His actions were a threat to the family's stability. The recent threats, however, are from Sergei. He believes my father is on his deathbed, and that my disability makes me unfit to inherit the full scope of the Volkov Empire. He is testing my father's resolve, and my own. He is the true danger. He orchestrated the intruder. And the anonymous threats? He looked up as the butler approached, his face once again pale and slightly strained, his eyes distant. "The power is out, I see," he murmured, his voice a low rumble, perfectly fitting the image of a frail man inconvenienced by the storm. "Ensure all emergency lights are functioning." Anya stared at him, the full scope of the situation finally dawning on her. She wasn't just married to a hidden tycoon, she was married to a man at the center of a dangerous, high-stakes power struggle. A man who had chosen to feign weakness to protect himself and his empire, and now she was inextricably linked to that fight. Anya remained hidden, her body trembling, not from cold, but from the shock of the revelation. She had suspected, yes, but to see it with her own eyes, to witness the complete fabrication of his disability. It was a different kind of truth altogether. The man she was married to was not just cunning, he was a master manipulator, a hidden force operating in plain sight. "So, what now?" Anya asked, her voice steady, her gaze meeting his. "The charade is over, to me, at least. What do we do?" She retreated to her room, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, certainly, at the profound deception, betrayal, at the lie she had been forced to live, but also a strange, unsettling awe. He was truly brilliant, a performer of the highest caliber, and terrifyingly, she was now privy to his greatest secret. Mikhail's eyes held hers, a flicker of something akin to hope and unwavering resolve in their depths. He was no longer the frail invalid, nor the cold strategist. He was Mikhail, the man who saw her, who cared for her, and who was ready to face his enemies. "Now, Anya," he said, his voice firm, "we face them. Together. The charade is over. It is time for the true Mikhail Volkov to emerge, and with you by my side, I believe we can transform this legacy and build something stronger, something real." A lesser-known detail about individuals who maintain long-term deceptions is the psychological toll it can take, requiring constant vigilance and a suppression of their true selves. Mikhail's ability to maintain this charade, even in moments of crisis, spoke volumes about his discipline and the profound reasons behind his deception. It's like being an actor who never leaves character, even when the cameras are off. The truth had been revealed, raw and complex. The stage was now set for a united front, a powerful alliance between Anya's integrity and Mikhail's unveiled power. The deception was over, replaced by a fragile, nascent trust. The pampering, once bewildering, was now understood as a testament to his growing affection. Their love story, born of a desperate bargain and forged in the crucible of deception, was about to begin its true, open chapter. As they prepared to confront the betrayers and transform the Volkov legacy. The next morning, Anya faced Mikhail at breakfast, her heart pounding. He was back to his usual slow gait, his cane by his side, his eyes distant. He offered her a polite, almost imperceptible nod. Anya met his gaze, her own eyes holding a new, unreadable depth. She knew. And the knowledge was a heavy, dangerous weight. You've witnessed the raw, complex truth revealed by Mikhail, the intricate reasons behind his long-held deception, and the profound confession of his true feelings for Anya. The charade was over, replaced by a fragile, nascent trust. Now, you are about to see Anya's response to this overwhelming revelation. Though initially hurt by the profound deception, she will choose to stand by Mikhail, understanding his motives, and together, they will form a united front against the external threats that loom over the Volkov Empire. You find yourself in the intimate, charged space of his study, where a new kind of alliance, born of honesty and shared purpose, begins to forge. She observed him throughout the day, every limp, every stiff movement, every frail gesture, now seen through the lens of truth. It was a performance, a meticulously crafted illusion. She wondered how long he had been doing this, how many people he had fooled, and what grander purpose this elaborate charade served. The whispers she had overheard between Elena and Sergei. He's playing a long game. Sergei. He always has. Now made chilling sense. Anya stood before Mikhail, absorbing his words, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The pain of the deception was still a sharp pang in her heart, a bitter taste of betrayal. She had been a pawn, a carefully selected piece in his intricate game, yet his honesty now, his raw vulnerability in confessing his past and his feelings, was disarming. She saw the man beneath the strategist, the one who had suffered, who had been targeted, and who had, in his own unique way, cared for her. Historians still debate the various motivations behind elaborate deceptions in historical figures. From political maneuvering to personal protection or even psychological experiments, Mikhail's feigned disability, in this context, raises the academic question what specific, long-term objective could justify such a profound and risky charade, particularly for someone who already wielded immense power. I understand why you did it, Mikhail, Anya finally said, her voice quiet, but steady. The threats, the power struggles, the need for protection. I saw glimpses of it myself. But to lie for so long, to me, her voice trailed off, a hint of the lingering hurt in her tone. The revelation transformed Anya's understanding of her marriage. She wasn't married to a disabled man, she was married to a hidden tycoon, a phantom, a man who chose to operate in the shadows, pulling strings from behind a veil of feigned weakness. Her role in this marriage, she now realized, was not just to be a dutiful wife, but to be a pawn in a game of deception, a part of his elaborate cover. Mikhail stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. It was never about lying to you, Anya, he said, his voice low and earnest. It was about protecting myself, and by extension, protecting you and your family. And it was about finding someone I could truly trust in a world where trust is a fatal weakness. You proved yourself to be that person. He reached out, gently taking her hands in his. I regret the deception, Anya, but I do not regret choosing you, and I do not regret what we have found now that the truth is revealed. The anger at being deceived was potent, but it was tempered by a growing sense of curiosity and a strange, almost dangerous, thrill. She held his secret. She had seen the true Mikhail, and that knowledge, she knew, gave her a power she hadn't anticipated, a leverage that could either destroy him or, perhaps, allow her to find her own place within this terrifying, hidden empire. Anya looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there, the depth of emotion that had been hidden for so long. She remembered the roses, the books, the quiet comforts, the way he had defended her against the intruder, dropping his facade without hesitation. She remembered the sheer terror of her family's ruin, the desperate bargain she had struck. He had saved them. He had protected her. And he had, in his own strange way, loved her. Anya knew she couldn't confront him immediately. She needed to understand more, to gather her thoughts, to decide her next move. The stakes were too high, not just for her, but for her family, whose debts had been cleared by this very deception. She was walking a tightrope, balancing her anger with her pragmatic need for survival. The choice was clear. She could walk away, demand a separation, and retreat from this complex, dangerous world. But where would she go? Her family was safe because of him. And more importantly, she realized she no longer wanted to walk away. The man standing before her, the true Mikhail, was far more compelling than the frail invalid she had married. He was a man of immense power, yes, but also of profound loyalty and, she now knew, deep affection. As the days passed, Anya maintained her composure, mirroring Mikhail's own mastery of deception. She continued to act the part of the dutiful, unsuspecting wife, while inwardly, her mind raced, analyzing, planning. She watched him, seeking more clues, trying to understand the full scope of his hidden empire and the reasons behind his elaborate charade. The stage was now set for the first true test of Anya's character and loyalty, a challenge orchestrated by Mikhail himself, designed to gauge her true nature, unaware that she already held the key to his greatest secret. "So, what now?" Anya asked again, her voice firmer this time, a new resolve entering her tone. "The charade is over. To me, at least. What do we do about Sergei? About the threats? You've just witnessed the shattering of Mikhail Volkov's facade, the terrifying revelation that his disability was a meticulously crafted lie. Anya now carries the weight of this profound secret. Her perception of her husband transformed from a frail recluse to a cunning, hidden tycoon. The anger at his deception still simmers, but it's tempered by a strange, almost dangerous curiosity. She knows she holds the key to his greatest secret, and now, you are about to see Mikhail himself initiate the first true test of Anya's character and loyalty. A challenge designed to gauge her true nature, unaware that she already holds the ultimate leverage. You find yourself in the tense, silent atmosphere of the Volkov mansion. As a subtle game of wills begins to unfold, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched Mikhail's lips. It was a smile of relief, of quiet triumph. He knew she had chosen to stay. "Now, Anya," he said, his voice firm, radiating the full authority of the hidden tycoon. "We face them. Together, the charade is over. It is time for the true Mikhail Volkov to emerge. And with you by my side, I believe we can transform this legacy and build something stronger, something real." Anya maintained her composure, mirroring Mikhail's own mastery of deception. She continued to act the part of the dutiful, unsuspecting wife, her eyes calm, her movements serene, but beneath the surface, her mind raced, analyzing every interaction, every subtle cue. She watched Mikhail's feigned limp, his distant gaze, his carefully modulated voice, seeing them now as parts of a grand performance. The sheer audacity of his charade was breathtaking, and she wondered how long he had been living this elaborate lie, and for what ultimate purpose. A common historical fact, often seen in times of political or corporate upheaval, is that a unified leadership, particularly one that projects strength and integrity, can be a powerful deterrent against rivals. Anya's decision to stand by Mikhail, and for them to present a united front, would send a clear message to Sergei and his faction that their attempts to undermine Mikhail's authority would be met with formidable opposition. It's like a medieval king, after years of feigning illness, suddenly standing tall with his queen by his side, ready to reclaim his throne. Mikhail, for his part, seemed oblivious to Anya's newfound knowledge. He continued his routine, his interactions with her polite but distant, yet Anya sensed a subtle shift in his demeanor towards her. His dark eyes, though still often distant, would sometimes linger on her for a fraction longer, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths, curiosity, perhaps, or a nascent interest. He was, she realized, studying her, just as she was studying him. He was testing her, subtly, to see if she was truly the unassuming, compliant wife his family expected. Over the next few days, the atmosphere in the Volkov mansion shifted dramatically. Mikhail, now openly moving without his cane when only Anya was present, began to operate with a newfound intensity. He spent hours in his study, not just poring over ledgers, but holding hushed, urgent meetings with trusted advisors who seemed to materialize out of the shadows. Anya watched, fascinated, as the true scope of his empire and his strategic genius unfolded before her. He was a master tactician, anticipating every move, planning every countermove. The first test came in the form of a social engagement. The Volkovs rarely attended public events, reinforcing Mikhail's reclusive image. But an annual charity gala, a high-profile event attended by the city's elite and powerful, was an unavoidable obligation for a family of their stature. Elena and Sergei were to attend, and to Anya's surprise, Mikhail announced that Anya would accompany them, representing the Volkov name. Anya, too, found her role within this burgeoning alliance. Mikhail began to consult her on various matters, not just as a formality, but genuinely seeking her perspective. Her quiet perceptiveness, her sharp intuition, and her unwavering moral compass proved to be invaluable assets. She would point out subtle flaws in a plan, or suggest alternative approaches that Mikhail, accustomed to ruthless efficiency, might have overlooked. She became his sounding board, his quiet counsel, a trusted partner in a world where he had previously trusted no one. "It is a necessary duty, Anya," Mikhail stated during a formal dinner, his voice flat. "Your presence will serve to reaffirm the family's commitment to philanthropy. Elena and Sergei will guide you." He didn't look at her, his gaze fixed on his plate, but Anya felt the weight of his words. This was her first public outing as Mrs. Volkov, and a direct challenge. She was to be paraded, observed, and judged by the very society that had once scorned her family. "Sergei is attempting to leverage the old guard," Mikhail explained one evening, tracing lines on a complex organizational chart. "He's spreading rumors that my father is losing his faculties, and that I am too compromised to lead effectively. He's trying to force a vote of no confidence." A common historical fact, often seen in high society, is the use of public events as a subtle testing ground for new members or as a way to gauge social standing and influence. For Anya, this gala was not just a charity event, it was a trial by fire, a performance where her every move would be scrutinized by the city's most powerful and judgmental eyes. It's like being thrown into a medieval joust, but instead of lances, the weapons are whispers and judging glances. "But your father trusts you," Anya pointed out, "and now you are no longer compromised." The lie, while painful, served its purpose. It protected you. It allowed you to prepare. Elena and Sergei immediately began to advise Anya on her attire, her demeanor, and her conversation topics, their tones condescending. "Remember, Anya, you are representing the Volkov name," Elena intoned, her eyes sharp. "No missteps, no embarrassing displays. Your family's past is regrettable. Do not bring it to light." Mikhail looked at her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "Indeed. And now, the truth can be a weapon," Sergei added with a smirk. "Just smile, look pretty, and try not to say anything too provincial. Your husband's condition means he cannot attend, so you must be doubly careful not to draw negative attention." A lesser-known detail about complex power struggles is that the timing of a revelation can be as crucial as the revelation itself. Mikhail had chosen to maintain his deception until the optimal moment, ensuring that his enemies would be caught off guard when his true strength was finally unveiled. Anya's understanding of the strategic timing and her willingness to participate in the unveiling made her an indispensable ally. Anya felt a surge of quiet anger at their thinly veiled insults, but she maintained her composure. She nodded, listening patiently, absorbing their veiled warnings. She knew this was part of Mikhail's test, to see how she handled the pressure, the disdain, and the subtle attempts to undermine her. She would not crack. Their partnership extended beyond strategy. Anya, with her innate kindness, began to subtly influence Mikhail's approach. While he remained ruthless in business, she encouraged him to consider the human element, to seek solutions that were not just efficient, but also just. She reminded him of the impact his decisions had on real people, subtly softening the edges of his hardened pragmatism. He listened to her, surprisingly receptive to her gentle influence, a testament to the growing depth of his feelings for her. On the night of the gala, Anya wore a simple, elegant gown that Elena had grudgingly approved. It was beautiful, but understated, a stark contrast to the glittering extravagance of the other attendees. As she entered the opulent ballroom with Elena and Sergei, she felt hundreds of eyes turn towards her, a wave of curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. Whispers followed her like a shadow. The poor girl, married to the recluse, to clear her family's debt. The external threats continued, a constant reminder of the stakes. Anonymous threats became more explicit, hinting at physical danger. The mansion's security was tightened further, a silent, formidable presence. Anya felt the fear, but it was no longer paralyzing. With Mikhail by her side and the knowledge of his true power, she felt a profound sense of security. She was no longer alone. Elena and Sergei kept her on a tight leash, introducing her to influential figures with formal, almost dismissive tones, clearly trying to minimize her presence. Anya, however, surprised them. She spoke little, but when she did, her words were thoughtful, intelligent, and imbued with a quiet grace that disarmed many. She listened intently, asked insightful questions, and carried herself with an unassuming dignity that slowly began to turn curious glances into genuine interest. One morning, Mikhail received a summons from his father, the ailing patriarch. A family council was to be held, a rare event, clearly orchestrated by Sergei to force a confrontation about the family's leadership. This was it, the moment of truth. A lesser-known detail about social intelligence is the power of active listening and genuine curiosity in navigating complex social situations. Anya, by focusing on others and demonstrating a quiet confidence, rather than trying to impress or defend herself, subtly shifted the perception of her from a pauper bride to a woman of quiet substance. It's like a medieval diplomat who, instead of boasting, simply listens and asks clever questions, earning respect without effort. Mikhail looked at Anya, his gaze resolute. "It is time," he said, his voice firm. "Time for the true Mikhail Volkov to stand revealed, and for Sergei to face the consequences of his ambition." Midway through the evening, a notoriously gossipy socialite, Lady Beatrice, approached Anya, her eyes gleaming with malicious curiosity. "My dear," she purred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "It must be so challenging, being married to a man of Mr. Volkov's delicate constitution, so reclusive, so confined. How do you manage?" Her gaze was probing, clearly designed to elicit a reaction, a moment of weakness or complaint. Anya nodded, her hand instinctively reaching for his. His grip was strong, reassuring. The deception was over. The hidden Tycoon was about to step into the light with his unexpected ally, his beloved wife, by his side. Their united front, forged in secrecy and tested by betrayal, was about to face its ultimate challenge, ready to confront the betrayers and transform the Volkov legacy into something stronger, something real, built on honesty and mutual respect. Anya met her gaze, her expression serene. "Mr. Volkov is a man of profound intellect and great strength, Lady Beatrice," Anya replied, her voice calm and steady. "His private nature is a choice, not a confinement, and I find his company to be immensely rewarding. We discuss philosophy, literature, and the intricate workings of the world. It is a privilege to share his quiet wisdom. You've witnessed Anya's steadfast choice to stand by Mikhail, and the forging of their united front, a powerful alliance built on honesty and a shared purpose. The moment of truth had arrived. The family council, orchestrated by Sergei to depose Mikhail. Now, you are about to see Anya and Mikhail strategically confront her treacherous ex-fiancé, Andrei, and the ambitious Sergei, as Mikhail, now openly using his resources, orchestrates their downfall, ensuring justice for Anya and securing his rightful place at the head of the Volkov Empire. You find yourself in the grand, imposing council chambers of the Volkov mansion, where the air crackles with tension, and the fate of a dynasty hangs in the balance. Lady Beatrice blinked, momentarily stunned. She had expected tears, or a stammered excuse, or perhaps a desperate plea for sympathy. Instead, she was met with a dignified defense, a quiet assertion of Mikhail's hidden depth, and a subtle rebuke of her intrusive curiosity. Anya had not revealed his secret, but she had subtly hinted at a different truth, a strength that defied his public image. It was a perfectly executed parry. Deflecting the attack with grace, the family council convened in the mansion's vast oak-paneled library, a room usually reserved for quiet study, now transformed into a battleground of wills. The patriarch, Mikhail's ailing father, sat at the head of the long, polished table, his face pale but his eyes still sharp. Observing the assembled family members, Elena and Sergei sat opposite Mikhail and Anya, their expressions a mixture of smug confidence and thinly veiled contempt. Other distant relatives, minor shareholders, and long-serving advisors filled the remaining seats, their faces a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Elena and Sergei, who had been hovering nearby, listening intently, exchanged bewildered glances. Anya had handled the situation with an unexpected poise and intelligence. She had not only defended Mikhail, but had elevated his image, subtly transforming his perceived weakness into an aura of intellectual depth. They had expected her to stumble, but she had danced. Mikhail entered the room, not with his usual feigned limp, but walking with a powerful, confident stride. His cane was absent, his posture was straight, his shoulders broad, and his dark eyes held an unwavering resolve that radiated immense authority. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Whispers erupted, quickly stifled, as the family members stared, utterly bewildered. The disabled heir was not disabled at all. The facade had been completely dropped. Historians still debate the various strategies individuals employ to navigate social hierarchies and overcome prejudice. Anya's approach, combining quiet observation, genuine intellect, and a refusal to be defined by others' expectations, allowed her to subtly subvert the social norms and gain respect in a challenging environment. This remains an open academic question. How much can individual character truly overcome deeply ingrained societal biases and expectations? Anya walked beside him, her head held high, her presence radiating quiet strength and unwavering support. She met Elena's and Sergei's shocked gazes with a calm, knowing look, a silent acknowledgement of the game they had played and lost. Later that night, back at the mansion, Anya found Mikhail in his study, sitting by the flickering fire, his cane by his side. He looked up as she entered, his dark eyes observing her. "Father," Sergei began, his voice tight with barely suppressed panic. "What is the meaning of this Mikhail's condition?" "The gala," he said, his voice low. "How was it?" Mikhail cut him off, his voice a low, resonant rumble that commanded immediate attention. "My condition, cousin, was a necessary precaution, a shield against those who would exploit perceived weakness, a test to reveal true loyalty. And as you can see, the test is over." His gaze swept over Elena and Sergei, chilling them to the bone. Anya met his gaze, a subtle challenge in her eyes. "It was illuminating," she replied. "Lady Beatrice sends her regards. She seemed very interested in your delicate constitution." The patriarch, Mikhail's father, offered a faint, approving smile, a rare display of emotion. He had been aware of Mikhail's charade, a secret shared between father and son, designed to protect the true heir and identify the ambitious pretenders. A faint, almost imperceptible flicker of amusement crossed Mikhail's eyes. He knew exactly what she was referring to. "And how did you respond?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his tone. Mikhail then began to speak, his voice calm, precise, and utterly devastating. He laid out Sergei's machinations, the rumors spread about his father's health, the attempts to undermine Mikhail's position, the orchestration of external threats against Anya. He presented irrefutable evidence, meticulously gathered over months, detailing Sergei's illicit dealings, his attempts to siphon off family assets, and his alliances with rival factions. He spoke of compromised accounts, forged documents, and clandestine meetings, all exposed with chilling clarity. Anya recounted the exchange, her voice calm. Mikhail listened intently, his expression unreadable. When she finished, a slow, genuine smile, one that reached his eyes, spread across his face. It was the first true smile she had ever seen from him, utterly devoid of pretense, and it was breathtaking. A common historical fact, often seen in corporate espionage or political intrigue, is the importance of having meticulously gathered intelligence to expose and neutralize adversaries. Mikhail, as a hidden tycoon, had used his feigned disability to operate unseen, building a comprehensive dossier on Sergei's every move, ensuring that when the moment of confrontation arrived, he would have irrefutable proof of betrayal. It's like a medieval spy master who, after years of silent observation, finally reveals all the hidden plots and traitors. "Well done, Anya," he said, his voice soft, almost warm. "You handled yourself with remarkable grace and intelligence." He paused, his gaze holding hers. "You are not what I expected." Sergei's face went ashen. He tried to interrupt, to deny, to bluster. But Mikhail's words, backed by undeniable evidence, crushed his every attempt. Elena, too, looked terrified, realizing the full extent of Mikhail's strategic genius and the depth of his preparations. Their carefully laid plans had been utterly dismantled, their treachery exposed. Anya felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. He had seen her. He had recognized her strength. The test was over, and she had passed. But the true significance of that smile, that quiet acknowledgement, was not lost on her. It was a sign that her pragmatic decision to marry him, her quiet observation, and her unexpected resilience had impressed the hidden tycoon. The stage was now set for the next phase of their strange, evolving relationship, where subtle acts of care would begin to appear, leaving Anya bewildered by her seemingly frail husband's hidden influence. Then, Mikhail turned his attention to Anya's past, to the betrayal she had suffered. "And there is the matter of Anya's family," he stated, his voice hardening. Her former fiancé, Andrei Volkov, a distant relative, attempted to defraud her family, leveraging their trust for his own illicit gains. Such actions are a stain on the Volkov name and a threat to the integrity of our operations. You've witnessed Anya's quiet triumph at the gala, her unexpected grace and intelligence impressing Mikhail and earning his first genuine smile. The test was over, and she had passed, confirming her husband was indeed a hidden tycoon. Now, you are about to see the subtle, almost imperceptible ways in which Mikhail begins to pamper Anya, leaving her bewildered by these acts of unexpected kindness from her seemingly frail husband. You find yourself in the quiet, opulent confines of the Volkov mansion, where small comforts appear as if by magic, and the heavy silence is occasionally punctuated by moments of genuine, if baffling, warmth. He then revealed the fate of Andrei. Andrei's ventures, as you know, abruptly collapsed. His assets were liquidated. He himself disappeared. This was not a coincidence. It was a direct consequence of his actions against Anya's family and against the Volkov principles. The family has its own methods of ensuring justice and maintaining its reputation. His gaze swept over the room, a clear warning to anyone who might consider similar transgressions. After the gala, the atmosphere between Anya and Mikhail shifted, subtly but undeniably. His distant gaze still held a hint of his carefully maintained facade. But now, when his eyes met hers, there was a new depth, a flicker of something akin to acknowledgement, perhaps even respect. He still moved with his feigned limp, his cane ever present. But Anya, knowing the truth, saw the suppressed power in his every deliberate movement. The game was still on, but the rules, for them, had subtly changed. A lesser-known detail about powerful, secretive families is their internal justice systems, which often operate outside conventional legal frameworks to protect their interests and maintain their internal order. Mikhail's casual mention of Andrei's disappearance and the family's methods hinted at a ruthless efficiency that went beyond mere business dealings, a chilling demonstration of the ultimate consequences of betrayal within the Volkov Empire. It's like a medieval court, where the judge and executioner are one and the same, and the verdict is always final. The first subtle act of care came a few mornings later. Anya had mentioned, almost in passing, how she missed the scent of fresh roses, a small comfort from her childhood home. She thought nothing of it. Yet, the next morning, a vase of the most exquisite, fragrant crimson roses appeared on her bedside table, their petals still dewy. There was no note, no explanation, just the silent, undeniable presence of the flowers. Anya stared at them, bewildered. Who had placed them there? The staff were efficient, but not prescient. She looked at Mikhail during breakfast, but his expression was as unreadable as ever, his eyes distant. It was like finding a hidden message in a bottle, but you couldn't figure out who sent it. Anya watched Mikhail, a profound sense of awe washing over her. He was not just defending her, he was publicly vindicating her, clearing her family's name, and demonstrating the swift, undeniable retribution for those who had wronged her. The quiet acts of pampering, the subtle protection, had culminated in this powerful, public act of justice. His confession, simple and profound, sent a jolt through Anya. It was an admission of affection, a vulnerability he had never shown before. He, the hidden Tycoon, the master of deception, was capable of genuine care, of immense pampering, of a deep, unspoken affection. The bewildering acts of kindness now made perfect, beautiful sense. The patriarch, Mikhail's father, finally spoke, his voice weak but firm. "Sergei," he rasped, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Your ambition has blinded you. Your actions have brought shame upon this family. You are hereby stripped of all your positions within the Volkov enterprises. Your assets will be frozen, and you will be exiled from this estate. Elena, you were complicit. You will retire from all family affairs, effective immediately." Then came the books. Anya, an avid reader, had exhausted the small collection of classics in her room. One afternoon, she returned to find a selection of new books on her reading table: contemporary novels, obscure philosophical texts, and even a few rare editions of poetry she had once mentioned a fondness for. They were exactly her taste. Titles she would have chosen herself. Again, no note, no explanation. She knew the staff wouldn't have known her preferences, and Elena and Sergei certainly wouldn't have bothered. The only person who could have arranged this was Mikhail, the man who supposedly spent his days in quiet reclusion. She felt a strange warmth spread through her chest, a flicker of something akin to gratitude, mixed with profound confusion. Sergei, utterly defeated, slumped in his chair, his face pale and drawn. Elena looked away, her eyes filled with bitter resentment, but she offered no defiance. The power struggle was over. Mikhail had won, a common historical fact, often seen in narratives of powerful, manipulative figures, is that they can use subtle acts of generosity or kindness to test loyalty, gain influence, or even express a nascent form of affection without revealing their true intentions or vulnerabilities. Mikhail's actions, while seemingly benevolent, could be interpreted in various ways, leaving Anya to ponder his true motives. It's like a medieval lord sending a gift to a potential ally, not just for kindness, but to gauge their reaction and solidify a future bond. Mikhail then turned to the other family members and advisors. "The Volkov Empire will move forward," he announced, his voice ringing with authority, with transparency, with integrity, and with a renewed focus on ethical practices. "My father's legacy will be honored, and our future secured. Anya, my wife, will be by my side as my partner in all endeavors." Her burdens also began to lighten. The household staff, who had initially been stiff and formal, seemed to become more attentive, more genuinely helpful. Her daily schedule, once filled with tedious household management tasks, subtly shifted, leaving her with more time for her own pursuits. She found herself with more leisure, more comfort, more freedom within the mansion's confines. She knew Elena and Sergei hadn't orchestrated this. They still treated her with thinly veiled disdain. This quiet efficiency, this newfound ease, could only be orchestrated by one person, Mikhail, the hidden Tycoon, pulling strings from behind his facade. Anya felt a surge of pride. He was not just acknowledging her, he was elevating her, presenting her as an equal partner, a co-architect of the Volkov future. Her quiet strength, her unwavering moral compass, had found its true purpose within this powerful, complex world. One evening, Anya found herself shivering in the vast, drafty drawing room. She had forgotten her shawl. Moments later, a soft cashmere blanket was draped over her shoulders. She turned, startled, to see Mikhail, his cane by his side, standing just a few feet away, his expression unreadable. "The mansion can be cold," he murmured, his voice low. He didn't linger, just turned and slowly limped back to his armchair by the fire. Anya clutched the blanket, its warmth spreading through her. A tangible act of care from a man who seemed to exist behind a wall of ice. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. A crack in his carefully constructed aloofness. Historians still debate the long-term impact of such dramatic power shifts within established dynasties. While a decisive victory can consolidate power, the true transformation of a legacy often requires sustained effort, a change in core values, and the active participation of new leadership. Mikhail and Anya's challenge was not just to win the battle, but to reshape the very soul of the Volkov Empire. This remains an open academic question. How do powerful, secretive organizations truly evolve and adapt to new leadership and changing ethical landscapes? A lesser-known detail about individuals who are highly observant is their ability to pick up on subtle, non-verbal cues and unspoken needs. Mikhail, despite his feigned disability, was clearly acutely aware of his surroundings and Anya's comfort. His acts of pampering weren't grand gestures. They were precise, tailored responses to her unexpressed desires, demonstrating a level of attention that was both unsettling and deeply touching. It's like a medieval king who, instead of asking, simply observes his queen's discomfort and orders a warm cloak to be brought. Without a word, the council concluded, the betrayers vanquished, the true heir revealed. Mikhail, no longer needing his charade, moved with the quiet power of a man fully in command. He walked over to Anya, his hand reaching for hers. Their fingers intertwined, a silent promise of partnership, of a future built on honesty and mutual respect. The more these subtle acts of care occurred, the more Anya's bewilderment grew. Why was he doing this? Was it part of another test? Was he trying to lull her into a false sense of security, or was there something else, something deeper, at play? The anger at his deception, which had simmered within her, slowly began to give way to a profound curiosity about his true intentions. She was being pampered, undeniably, but by a phantom, a man whose true nature remained shrouded in mystery. The stage was now set for the transformation of the Volkov legacy. Mikhail, with Anya's influence, would begin to steer the vast empire towards a new direction, shedding its reclusive, mysterious image and embracing a future built on transparency and ethical practices. Anya, finding her voice and purpose within this new role, would help him navigate the complexities of power, ensuring that justice and kindness, once foreign concepts in this ruthless world, would now become guiding principles. Their love, unveiled and strengthened by adversity, was about to forge a future far grander than any desperate bargain could have promised. She noticed that the meals, once formal and somewhat bland, became subtly tailored to her preferences. Her favorite tea would appear without her asking. A dish she had once mentioned enjoying would be served for dinner. These were not coincidences. Someone was listening, someone was paying attention, and that someone could only be Mikhail. His control extended even to the smallest details of her life, a silent, benevolent omnipresence. You've witnessed the dramatic confrontation in the council chambers, the unmasking of Mikhail, and the decisive downfall of Sergei and Elena. Justice had been served, and the true heir, no longer feigning weakness, stood ready to claim his rightful place. Now, you are about to see the profound transformation of the Volkov legacy, as Mikhail, guided by Anya's unwavering influence, begins to steer the vast empire towards a new direction, shedding its reclusive, mysterious image and embracing a future built on transparency and ethical practices. Anya, finding her voice and purpose within this powerful new role, steps into her own as a true partner. You find yourself in a dynamic, evolving landscape, where ancient power is being reshaped by modern principles and a shared vision. Historians still debate the various forms that affection and care can take in relationships, particularly in arranged marriages, or those built on unconventional foundations. Mikhail's subtle pampering, while not overtly romantic, demonstrated a form of deep attentiveness and provision that could be interpreted as a nascent form of affection or a powerful display of care. This remains an open academic question. How do individuals express genuine care when constrained by societal expectations, personal history, or a need for secrecy? In the immediate aftermath of the council, the mansion, once a bastion of hushed secrets and veiled power struggles, felt different. The oppressive silence had lifted, replaced by a purposeful hum of activity. Mikhail, now openly moving with his powerful, unhindered stride, was a whirlwind of energy. He held meetings, issued directives, and began the meticulous process of dismantling Sergei's corrupt networks and implementing new, transparent systems across the Volkov enterprises. Anya watched him, a profound sense of admiration swelling within her. He was indeed a hidden tycoon, a force of nature. And now, that force was unleashed for good. Anya found herself increasingly drawn to his study, the place where she had witnessed his true, unhindered movements. She would sometimes linger outside the door, listening for the faint sounds of his keyboard, the quiet hum of his hidden intellect at work. She wanted to understand him, to unravel the layers of deception, to find the real man beneath the facade. These subtle acts of care, far from reassuring her, only deepened the mystery, making her question everything she thought she knew about him. Anya found herself increasingly involved in these changes. Mikhail, true to his word, treated her as an equal partner. He sought her counsel on ethical dilemmas, listened intently to her suggestions on corporate social responsibility, and encouraged her to voice her opinions, even when they challenged his more ruthless or pragmatic instincts. Her quiet strength, her unwavering moral compass, became a vital counterbalance to his sharp, strategic mind. She was not just a figurehead, she was an active participant, a co-architect of the new Volkov legacy. One evening, Anya was feeling particularly homesick, missing her family. She sat by the window, gazing out at the dark, silent estate, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. She didn't hear Mikhail enter. His voice, when it came, was soft, a low rumble that seemed to fill the vast room. Transparency is not a weakness. Anya, Mikhail stated one evening, reviewing a complex proposal for a new charitable foundation. His voice was firm, but his eyes held a new warmth. It is a strength. It builds trust. And trust, in the long run, is the most valuable currency. He looked at her, a faint smile touching his lips. You have taught me that. Are you well, Anya? He asked, his cane tapping softly on the wooden floor. A common historical fact, often seen in the evolution of powerful corporations or family businesses, is the shift from opaque, secretive operations to more transparent and ethically driven models, often in response to public scrutiny or internal reform. The Volkov Empire, under Mikhail and Anya's leadership, was undergoing such a transformation, moving from a legacy built on veiled power to one striving for integrity. It's like a medieval guild, once known for its secret handshakes and hidden vaults, suddenly deciding to open its books and invest in community projects. She turned, startled, quickly wiping her eyes. Yes, Mr. Volkov, just a little tired. Anya took on the responsibility of overseeing the establishment of the Volkov Foundation, a philanthropic arm dedicated to supporting education and healthcare initiatives in underserved communities. She poured her energy into it, drawing on her own experiences of hardship to ensure that the foundation's efforts were truly impactful. She found her voice speaking at board meetings, advocating for those who had none, her passion shining through her quiet demeanor. This was a far cry from the life of quiet solitude she had once envisioned. He moved closer, slowly, deliberately, until he stood beside her. He didn't touch her, but his presence was a warm, comforting weight. You miss your family, he stated. Not a question, but a quiet understanding. The changes were not without resistance. Some of the older, more traditional advisors, who had thrived in the shadows of the old Volkov ways, grumbled about the new transparency and ethical practices. They saw it as a weakening of the family's power, a naive departure from the ruthless tactics that had built the empire. Elena, stripped of her influence, watched from the sidelines with bitter resentment, while Sergei, exiled from the estate, continued to plot from afar, a distant, but still present, threat. Anya nodded, surprised by his perceptiveness. Yes, very much. They will try to undermine us. Anya, Mikhail warned her, his gaze resolute. They will spread rumors. They will attempt to create dissent. But we will not falter. He was silent for a moment, his dark eyes gazing out at the night. They are safe. Anya, he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. Their debts are cleared. They are well provided for. You have ensured their security. A lesser-known detail about corporate reform is the psychological resistance from long-serving employees or family members who are accustomed to the old ways of doing business, particularly if those ways involved less scrutiny or more personal gain. This cultural inertia can be a significant challenge for new leadership attempting to implement fundamental changes in an established organization. Mikhail and Anya face this internal resistance, requiring not just strategic prowess but also immense patience and conviction. His words were a quiet reassurance, a confirmation of the success of her desperate bargain. But it was the tone, the unexpected empathy in his voice, that truly surprised her. He wasn't just stating facts. He was acknowledging her sacrifice, her pain. He was seeing her. Anya, however, had learned from Mikhail. She understood strategy, and she understood the power of a united front. Together, they implemented new communication channels, ensuring that all family members and key employees were informed of the changes, their benefits, and the new vision for the empire. They held town hall meetings, something unheard of in the reclusive Volkov family, allowing questions and addressing concerns directly. Anya, with her empathetic approach, helped bridge the gap between Mikhail's formidable intellect and the concerns of the family's long-serving staff. He then, with a subtle shift of his weight, leaned his cane against the wall. He reached out, his hand hovering for a moment, then gently, almost imperceptibly, he brushed a stray tear from her cheek. His touch was fleeting, but it sent a jolt through Anya, a spark of unexpected connection. He then slowly, deliberately, reached for his cane again, resuming his feigned limp, his mask back in place. But the moment, the touch, the quiet understanding, lingered. Their efforts began to bear fruit. The Volkov Empire, once shrouded in mystery, slowly began to gain a new reputation, not just for immense wealth, but for integrity, for ethical practices, and for a genuine commitment to social responsibility. New, younger talent, drawn by this progressive vision, began to seek opportunities within the Volkov enterprises, injecting fresh energy and ideas. The old guard, seeing the undeniable success of the new approach, slowly began to fall in line or fade into irrelevance. The stage was now set for Anya to glimpse the true scale of Mikhail's hidden empire, to realize the immense power and reach of the Volkov family, and to connect his hidden intellect with the vast operations he secretly controlled. The subtle acts of care, the quiet pampering, were not just random kindnesses. They were hints of a deeper connection, a growing affection from a man who chose to operate in the shadows, a hidden tycoon who was slowly, bewilderingly, beginning to pamper his unsuspecting wife. Anya also used her newfound position to help her own family. While their debts were cleared, she ensured they received the best medical care for her father and established a secure financial future for them, all discreetly, without drawing undue attention. Her initial sacrifice, born of desperation, had blossomed into a profound act of love and empowerment, not just for herself, but for those she held dear. You've witnessed the subtle acts of care, the bewildering pampering that hinted at a deeper connection between Anya and Mikhail, a connection that defied his feigned disability. The anger at his deception, though still present, was now overshadowed by a profound curiosity about his true intentions and the vast, hidden world he secretly commanded. Now, you are about to glimpse the true scale of Mikhail's hidden empire, to realize the immense power and reach of the Volkov family, and to connect his hidden intellect with the vast operations he secretly controlled. You find yourself standing at the edge of a colossal, unseen web of influence, where every thread leads back to the quiet, reclusive man who was her husband. Historians still debate the true impact of individual leaders on the long-term ethical trajectory of large organizations. While charismatic figures can initiate change, the sustained transformation often depends on the establishment of new systems, cultural norms, and a collective commitment to ethical principles. Mikhail and Anya's efforts represented a powerful attempt to reshape the very DNA of the Volkov Empire, moving it towards a more responsible and sustainable future. This remains an open academic question. How much can a single generation of leadership truly alter the ingrained practices of a centuries-old dynasty? Anya had always known the Volkov family was wealthy, immensely so. Their name was whispered with a certain reverence in financial circles, their influence acknowledged, but their operations remained largely opaque. They were old money, the kind that didn't flaunt its riches but wielded power from behind velvet curtains. But as Anya continued to observe Mikhail, and as the subtle acts of care continued to appear in her life, She began to connect the dots between his hidden intellect and the sheer, silent efficiency of the Volkov Empire. Mikhail, too, continued to evolve. He was no longer just the ruthless strategist. Anya's influence had softened his edges, bringing out a warmth and compassion he had long suppressed. He still possessed his formidable intellect and his unwavering resolve. But now, these qualities were tempered by a deeper understanding of human connection and the importance of empathy. He was a leader who inspired loyalty not just through fear, but through respect and genuine care. One afternoon, Mikhail summoned her to his study. This was unusual. Their interactions were typically in the drawing room or dining hall. The study, where she had once glimpsed him working furiously on a computer, felt charged with a different kind of energy. He was seated at his large antique desk, the computer screen dark, his cane leaning against the chair. He gestured to a stack of thick, leather-bound ledgers on the desk. Their love, unveiled and strengthened by adversity, became the bedrock of this transformation. Their partnership was a testament to the idea that true power lies not in deception, but in honesty, not in isolation, but in shared purpose. Anya, who had married a disabled man, unknowingly a fake-limping hidden tycoon, had not only found her own purpose, but had helped him find his true self, transforming a legacy of shadows into a future built on light. Anya, he began, his voice low, I require your assistance. These are some of the family's older accounts. I need them cross-referenced with recent market trends. A tedious task, I assure you, but one that requires a meticulous eye. He looked at her, his gaze unreadable. This was clearly another test, a deeper probe into her capabilities. The stage was now set for the culmination of their journey, a powerful, open declaration of their love, a solidification of their bond, and the forging of a future where deception had no place, only true partnership and a legacy of genuine impact. Anya felt a surge of adrenaline. This was her chance to see the inner workings, to understand the true scale of his hidden world. She sat down opposite him, her heart thumping. The ledgers were filled with dense columns of figures, names of companies she'd never heard of, transactions spanning decades, even centuries. It was a dizzying array of data, hinting at a vast, intricate network of investments and holdings. You've witnessed the profound transformation of the Volkov legacy, steered by Mikhail and Anya towards transparency and ethical practices. The old shadows were receding, replaced by a new, brighter vision. Now, you are about to see the culmination of their journey, a powerful, open declaration of their love, a solidification of their bond, and the forging of a future where deception had no place, only true partnership and a legacy of genuine impact. You find yourself in a space filled with warmth and light, as the love story born of a desperate bargain finally blossoms into its full, radiant truth. As she worked, Mikhail would occasionally offer a cryptic comment or ask a probing question about a particular market sector. His questions were sharp, insightful, revealing a profound understanding of global finance that utterly contradicted his public persona. He spoke of commodity markets, international trade routes, and geopolitical shifts with an ease that belied his supposed reclusion. Anya listened, fascinated, her mind racing to keep up. She saw the true Mikhail here, the hidden tycoon, his intellect a formidable force. Mikhail's father, the patriarch, passed away peacefully a few months after the council, having witnessed the beginning of the Volkov Empire's transformation and the emergence of his son's true strength. His passing, though mournful, was also a moment of quiet pride for Mikhail. Knowing he had fulfilled his father's deepest wish to secure the family's future with integrity and a worthy partner, Mikhail officially assumed the full leadership of the Volkov enterprises. His power now undeniable, his presence commanding. A common historical fact, often seen in the development of global capitalism, is the emergence of powerful, often secretive, family dynasties that built vast empires through diversified investments across various sectors. The Volkov family, with its deep roots and immense wealth, likely represented such a dynasty, operating with a long-term strategy that allowed them to weather economic storms and expand their influence unseen. It's like a medieval guild that secretly owns half the continent, but no one knows because they still pretend to just make shoes, with the old guard either exiled or brought into line, and the patriarch's blessing, Mikhail began to dismantle the last vestiges of the family's reclusive, mysterious image. He held press conferences, granted interviews, and publicly outlined the Volkov Empire's new direction, a global leader in sustainable technology, ethical investments, and proactive philanthropy. The world was introduced to the true Mikhail Volkov, a brilliant, formidable, yet surprisingly compassionate leader. A far cry from the rumors of a frail, disabled recluse, Anya also began to notice the sheer volume of information that flowed into the mansion. Couriers arrived at all hours, delivering thick envelopes and secure cases. The few staff members, particularly the butler, seemed to act as highly efficient gatekeepers, filtering information and ensuring its precise delivery to Mikhail. It was a well-oiled machine, operating with the silent precision of a hidden command center. She realized that Mikhail, despite his confinement, was at the very heart of this vast network, the central node of a colossal web. And by his side, always, was Anya. One afternoon, while working on the ledgers, Anya stumbled upon a series of transactions related to a seemingly innocuous company called Andre Holdings. Her blood ran cold. Andre, her treacherous ex-fiancé. She looked up at Mikhail, her eyes wide. He was watching her, his expression unreadable. She was no longer just his wife, she was his public face, his trusted advisor, and the driving force behind the Volkov Foundation. She spoke with grace and conviction at charity events, her quiet strength captivating audiences. She championed causes close to her heart, using the Volkov wealth to make a tangible difference in the lives of countless people. Her journey from a desperate young woman facing ruin to a powerful advocate for change was an inspiration, and her story became intertwined with the transformation of the Volkov legacy. "Do you recognize that name?" "Anya," Mikhail asked, his voice soft, almost too casual. A common historical fact, often seen in the evolution of powerful public figures, is the importance of a strong, supportive partner who can complement their strengths and soften their public image. Anya, with her integrity and empathy, provided Mikhail with exactly that, helping him navigate the transition from a hidden, ruthless strategist to a respected, benevolent leader. It's like a medieval king, once known only for his battle prowess, now being celebrated for his wisdom and compassion, thanks to the quiet influence of his queen. Anya hesitated. This was a dangerous moment. If she revealed her connection to Andre, would it jeopardize her position? Would it expose her family to renewed scrutiny? But she had already seen enough of Mikhail's hidden depth to know that honesty, in this strange relationship, might be her only path. Their love, once born of necessity and shrouded in deception, now blossomed into an open, profound connection. Mikhail, no longer needing to hide, revealed the full depth of his affection for Anya. He pampered her, not subtly now, but openly, showering her with thoughtful gifts, luxurious experiences, and unwavering devotion. He listened to her ideas, sought her opinions, and cherished her presence. The vast mansion, once a cold, silent fortress, became a home filled with warmth, laughter, and the quiet hum of a shared life. "Yes," she admitted, her voice low. "Andre Volkov, he was my fiancé before he betrayed my family and left them in ruin." The words were bitter, laced with a pain she rarely allowed herself to show. "I never thought I would find this Anya," Mikhail confessed one evening, as they sat by the fire in his study, her hand in his. "A partner, a confidant, someone who saw beyond the charade. Someone who taught me that true strength lies not in deception, but in honesty. And that power, when wielded with kindness, can build something truly extraordinary." Mikhail's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something dark, almost predatory, in their depths. "Indeed," he murmured. "A rather unfortunate incident for your family. And for him, as it turned out." Anya smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "And I never thought I would find love," she replied, her voice soft. "Not after everything. But you, Mikhail, you taught me that even in the most desperate bargains, truth and kindness can find a way to bloom." Anya looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" A lesser-known detail about relationships that overcome initial deception is the profound level of trust that can develop once the truth is revealed and accepted. The shared vulnerability, the understanding of complex motives, And the choice to forgive and move forward can forge a bond that is deeper and more resilient than relationships built on simpler foundations. Mikhail and Anya's love, having survived such a significant challenge, was exceptionally strong. It's like a medieval fortress, once built to keep enemies out, now transformed into a welcoming home, its strength repurposed for protection and comfort. Mikhail leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant, as if contemplating something far away. "Andrei Volkov," he said, his voice a low, almost purring rumble, "was a distant relative, a minor branch of the family. He was ambitious and foolish. He attempted to leverage certain family connections for his own illicit gains, without proper authorization. Such actions are not tolerated by the Volkov family. They disrupt the delicate balance of our operations." Sergei, from his exile, continued his futile attempts to undermine Mikhail, spreading rumors and trying to rally support from disgruntled former associates. But his efforts were met with silence and dismissal. The Volkov family, now united under Mikhail's strong, transparent leadership, had no patience for his petty machinations. His power had been utterly neutralized, his ambition having led only to his own ruin. Elena, living in quiet retirement, watched the transformation of the empire with a mixture of bitter regret and a grudging, silent respect for Mikhail's success. A lesser-known detail about powerful, secretive organizations is their internal mechanisms for dealing with rogue elements or those who threaten their stability. Such families often have their own discrete methods of ensuring justice or maintaining control, operating outside conventional legal frameworks. Mikhail's casual mention of Andrei's unfortunate incident hinted at a far more sinister reality than simple business failure. It's like a medieval crime family, where disloyalty is dealt with swiftly and silently, without the need for public trials. Anya's family, now fully recovered and thriving, became a source of immense joy for her. Her father regained his health, his spirit renewed. Her mother, free from worry, blossomed once more. They saw Anya not just as their savior, but as a woman who had found her own strength and purpose, building a life of profound meaning. Anya felt a chill run down her spine. "What happened to him?" she whispered. Historians still debate the long-term impact of individual ethical leadership on the trajectory of large, established organizations. While the immediate changes under Mikhail and Anya were significant, the challenge of maintaining integrity and transparency in a world of immense power is ongoing. Their story raises the academic question: how can a single generation of leadership truly embed new ethical principles into the DNA of a centuries-old dynasty, ensuring a lasting legacy that transcends individual personalities? Mikhail finally met her gaze, his eyes cold and unblinking. "He disappeared," he stated, simply. His ventures collapsed. His assets were liquidated. He ceased to be a problem. There was no malice in his tone, just a cold, factual statement of events. It was a terrifying demonstration of the Volkov family's reach and Mikhail's own ruthless efficiency. He had, it seemed, already dealt with Andrei, long before Anya ever arrived at the mansion. He had cleared her family's debts. Yes, but he had also, subtly, dealt with the source of their pain. Mikhail and Anya's love story became a testament to the idea that destiny can be found in the most unexpected places, and that true partnership is built not on perfect beginnings, but on shared challenges, profound understanding, and unwavering support. He, the hidden tycoon who had feigned a limp to navigate a treacherous world, found his true self in her quiet strength. She, the girl who married a disabled man out of desperation, found her purpose, her voice, and a love that transcended all expectations. The realization hit Anya with a powerful force. Her desperate bargain had been far more intricate than she had imagined. Mikhail hadn't just saved her family, he had, in his own silent, terrifying way, avenged them. He had removed Andrei from the board, a chess piece deemed expendable. The man who feigned a limp was capable of orchestrating the complete disappearance of a person, a business, a life. Their life together was a blend of immense power and quiet intimacy. They continued to work tirelessly for the Volkov Empire, steering it towards a future of innovation and social responsibility, but they also carved out moments for themselves, for quiet evenings by the fire, for walks in the vast gardens, for shared laughter and unspoken understanding. The mansion, once fading, now radiated a new kind of life, a beacon of light in a world that had once been shrouded in shadows. Historians still debate the ethical implications of powerful private entities operating beyond the reach of conventional law, particularly when they exert significant influence over global markets and political landscapes. The Volkov family, as revealed by Mikhail, represented such an entity, capable of enforcing its own brand of justice and maintaining its own internal order. This remains an open academic question. How do societies balance the need for stability and order with the potential for unchecked power in the hands of a few? Their legacy was not just about wealth or power, but about transformation. They had taken an ancient and secretive dynasty and reshaped it, proving that integrity and compassion could coexist with immense influence. Anya, who had married a man she thought was broken, had unknowingly married a hidden tycoon who pampered her immensely, and together, they forged a future where their love, unveiled and true, illuminated every step of their extraordinary journey. Anya felt a complex mix of emotions: shock at the ruthlessness, a strange sense of vindication for her family, and a dawning, terrifying understanding of the man she was married to. He was not just a hidden tycoon, he was a silent, powerful force, capable of immense protection and chilling retribution. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story of hidden tycoons, unexpected love, and profound transformation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay with us for the next one. And while you're here, check out our other videos. There's always more to explore. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. You did that for my family, Anya asked, her voice barely a whisper.